you've been on the internet recently, you'll realize that there's a lot of talks of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake coming soon. And this is fantastic in many different ways because ever since the game was released, I've always wanted to know, was there more in Hyrule, something that I can explore and do? But maybe this might be the time, judging off the leaks, the rumors, the information that we have so far, and of course the theories. It seems like the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake is honestly going to be fantastic. So what's going on, everyone? How's your day going? Let's get straight into the video. So now, this game right here is honestly probably going to look good. If you take a look at something like this right here, it seems like this might actually be what Ocarina of Time could finally look like. Because the Nintendo Switch 2 is more than powerful enough to run something like this, and honestly that is pretty crazy, because really, when you think about it, a Legend of Zelda game that looks like this, there's only one time that it really came sorta close to this. It was the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, but now seeing something like this, honestly, is really cool. Because when you really think about it, everyone always wanted something like this, a Legend of Zelda game that is fully reimagined into the world of that, so you feel like you're actually jumping into Hyrule for the first time, or even the second time. But overall, it is fantastic. Now, there's definitely a lot of things that could change within that game, and if you're not ready for change, well, there might be a button for you. A button that allows you to just change it back to how it was. It seems like there might actually be two UI systems, so one that's more modern and one that's a little bit older, so then Legend of Zelda fans can stay happy with that. Now, honestly, I think that this is pretty okay. It honestly seems like the controls are going to get a complete overhaul. Now, this right here is great in my books, because I honestly hated the controls for the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It was so clumsy and quirky to use, and it just wasn't that great. But it seems like we might actually get controls something similar to the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Honestly, I think that those controls really work good because, like, you got your jump button, but I'm not saying we're going to be getting the jump button. It's pretty much just the 360 camera angle that honestly works really good. You might have your inventory system that was on a button, but besides that, it's mostly the 360 camera that's going to get the complete overhaul, so you will be able to look all the way around with the camera instead of having some weird one that just points back to one direction, which is honestly a very ridiculously hard time to play because it's not very accurate. But yeah, anyways, the controls are going to most likely get an overhaul. It also seems the Hyrule field might actually change, because if you remember in the original game, that wasn't a really fun time. The Hyrule field only had 1 to 2 monsters that spawned there. We had skeletons, we had goblins, we had those weird plant thingies with razor blades, and other things that would sometimes spawn there, but overall, it just wasn't a really fun time. It seems like that is actually going to change, add more enemies, and potentially more side quests. And speaking on side quests seems like they're actually going to get a different side quest system. So instead of just running around, hey, let's do this, talk to the person, nothing shows up, it probably seems like it's going to be changed up like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, how the side quests pretty much just popped up on your screen, and if you wanted to, you can click, okay, show me where I have to go. But if you don't want to, well, then you didn't have to click on the little yellow circle to where you had to go. You can figure it out on your own, or you can just read the dialogue. For those of you who don't read the dialogue, this is honestly the perfect thing for you, because then you don't have to read it, you can move on to your day. Overall, this is really great. And honestly, there's one thing that I really want to see, and it's not sure if they're actually going to add this, but maybe they will. Now, if you've been into the loop with the Legend of Zelda timeline, you'll realize that Ocarina of Time is pretty much in the gaps where it kind of spreads the series apart. So with Ocarina of Time, we only got the one base story where you go back in time and you're pretty much back to young Link. But there's 2 other stories that pretty much change that up. One of them, Link stays as adult Link and carries on with his day, but then there's another one where he actually dies to Ganondorf, and it kind of makes a whole split in the timeline, which honestly is really great if we could actually see those cutscenes unfold. Then it would for sure confirm the theories of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, how it kind of shapes the entire timeline of the Zelda series. So maybe there's going to be something, maybe a cutscene or an actual gameplay where Ganondorf is actually undefeatable. You can't defeat him even if you tried really hard with a million HP. Who knows? Or maybe even if you try to defeat him, if you do manage to defeat him, you will get a secret cutscene that who knows what will happen. But overall, this right here would definitely be a really fun way to revisit Ocarina of Time. But yeah, there's most likely also going to be different side quests and potentially a different main mission, because if you looked at any remake over the years, you realize that they mostly change up some things. Now, most of the game, most of the Ocarina of Time, is going to stay the same. So you don't have to worry about completely jumping into a brand new game, a game that is completely different than the original, because honestly, the original game did put out a lot of great things. But most likely what's going to change is probably some of the items, like instead of having to go to a whole bunch of different places, get yourself the armor, have to go and get yourself a bag and all of these things for the rubies. Maybe that might change, who knows? I'm not saying that it will, I'm not saying that it won't change, but you just got to keep that in an open mind. Overall, remakes and remasters are really awesome because it takes some of your fan favorite games and makes them even greater in 2026. Really playable, really awesome. So overall, I'm really excited for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time to make a full return. Honestly think that this is one of the greatest Legend of Zelda games, and who knows, there might even be some sort of post-game. Now, every single Legend of Zelda game, you don't really get to command and wield the Triforce. Maybe in this game, you're going to be able to command and wield the Triforce. Who actually knows what's going to be happening right now? But maybe that's going to be a case, maybe that's going to be the case inside of the 3-story idea, or maybe there's going to be a thing that different side quests are going to give you different rewards. Like sorta in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, where you get rubies, or you get arrows, or you get things like that. We might actually see something like that, so instead of seeing the original one that you have to go back to the store and get yourself some arrows, and get yourself some bombs, you might be able to just like pick them up. You were able to sort of pick them up, but let's just say there's going to be arrows all over the place, a little treasure chest that you can go and collect. Maybe there's going to be even more things like that, because honestly, I think that just treasures, finding more and more secrets to uncover in this Hyrule would be great. But mostly what's going to be changing is going to be the graphics and also the controls. So graphics are going to look something similar to this, because we already know the Switch 2 is more than powerful enough to run something like this. We have an NVIDIA chip, so even if they couldn't fully run it at a solid 60 frames per second, all they have to really do is bring that game down to 720p and then upscale it up to 4K or upscale it to 1080p. That definitely would work pretty great. But overall, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake is going to be awesome or not so awesome? It seems like it's probably going to be releasing fall of 2026. So late fall, most likely, maybe October, maybe November, who knows, maybe December. But overall, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Consider it the like button, maybe subscribing if you're new. We do a bunch of different Nintendo content on this channel. Anyways, thank you so much. See you in the next one.